The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves. There's no coming to consciousness without pain. I don't aspire to be a good man. I aspire to be a whole man. Show me a sane man and I will cure him for you. Often the hands will solve a mystery that the intellect has struggled with in vain. It all depends on how we look at things and not on how things are in themselves. The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Where wisdom reigns, there is no conflict between thinking and feeling. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. The reason for evil in the world is that people are not able to tell their stories. Faith, hope, love, and insight are the highest achievements of human effort. They are found given by experience. The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents. Where love rules, there is no will to power. And where power predominates, love is lacking. The one is the shadow of the other. The first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half is going inward and letting go of it. I shall not commit the fashionable stupidity of regarding everything I cannot explain as a fraud. If one does not understand a person, one tends to regard him as a fool. Children are educated by what the grown-up is and not by his talk. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. The highest, most decisive experience is to be alone with one's own self. You must be alone to find out what supports you. When you find that you cannot support yourself, only this experience can give you an indestructible foundation. For better to come, good must stand aside. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Shame is a soul-eating emotion. The healthy man does not torture others. Generally, it is the tortured who turn into torturers. Follow that will and that way which experience confirms to be your own. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment and especially on their children than the unlived life of the parent. Midlife is the time to let go of an overdominant ego and to contemplate the deeper significance of human existence. Words are animals, alive with a will of their own. Intuition does not denote something contrary to reason, but something outside of the province of reason. What you resist persists. Loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. In each of us, there is another whom we do not know. Whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. The best political, social, and spiritual work we can do is to withdraw the projection of our shadow onto others. To find out what is truly individual in ourselves, profound reflection is needed, and suddenly we realize how uncommonly difficult the discovery of individuality. About a third of my cases are suffering from no clinically definable neurosis, but from the senselessness and emptiness of their lives. This can be defined as the general neurosis of our times. We cannot change anything unless we accept it. I am no longer alone with myself, and I can only artificially recall the scary and beautiful feeling of solitude. This is the shadow side of the fortune of love. The true leader is always led. Nobody can fall so low unless he has a great depth. If such a thing can happen to a man, it challenges his best and highest on the other side. That is to say, this depth corresponds to a potential height, and the blackest darkness to a hidden light. Explore daily the will of God. The majority of my patients consisted not of believers, but of those who had lost their faith. Thinking is difficult, that's why most people judge. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Deep down, below the surface of the average man's conscience, he hears a voice whispering, there is something not right, no matter how much his rightness is supported by public opinion or moral code. The gods have become our diseases. Mistakes are, after all, the foundations of truth, and if a man does not know what a thing is, it is at least an increase in knowledge if he knows what it is not. Whatever is rejected from the self appears in the world as an event. If the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else's. Nobody, as long as he moves among the chaotic currents of life, is without trouble. Every human life contains a potential. If that potential is not fulfilled, then that life was wasted. The bigger the crowd, the more negligible the individual. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. A creative person has little power over his own life. He is not free. He is captive and driven by his daemon. My whole being was seeking for something still unknown which might confer meaning upon the banality of life. Sometimes you have to do something unforgivable just to be able to go on living. The reason for evil in the world is that people are not able to tell their stories. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light of meaning in the darkness of mere being. The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life. How can I be substantial if I do not cast a shadow? I must have a dark side also if I am to be whole. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. Without this playing with fantasy, no creative work has ever yet come to birth. The debt we owe to the play of the imagination is incalculable. Through pride, we are ever deceiving ourselves, but deep down below the surface of the average conscience, a still, small voice says to us something is out of tune. Nights through dreams tell the myths forgotten by the day. Sensation tells us a thing is. Thinking tells us what it is this thing is. Feeling tells us what this thing is to us. Every mother contains her daughter in herself, and every daughter her mother, and every mother extends backwards into her mother and forwards into her daughter. I am looking forward enormously to getting back to the sea again, where the overstimulated psyche can recover in the presence of that infinite peace and spaciousness. There can be no transforming of darkness into light and of apathy into movement without emotion. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. We are always human, and we should never forget the burden of being only human. In all chaos, there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. Which of the quotes do you like the most? Please leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.